making Drunken Chicken from My Shanghai. This is a classic Chinese dish, and there are many regional variations throughout China and in some other countries as well, but this is the Shanghai version. It's called Drunken Chicken because it is soaked for over 24 hours in a brine primarily made of Shaoxing wine, and it has a lot of other classic Chinese spices in it. These are goji berries you can see floating in there, as well as star anise. Star anise, I find, is actually a spice that a lot of Americans are like, oh, that's a great in a Chinese dish, but they can't identify what that spice is because we don't use it all that much. But follow along. This is a really good dish, and I think you're going to enjoy it. This recipe begins with 2 chicken leg quarters, and then you're going to debone them, and we're going to use the bones to make a bone broth. But just to show you the way they kind of, you almost kind of cut this open and then peel out the bones. I'm actually going to put a link in the description to show you guys how to debone a chicken leg quarter specifically. And now we're going to roll these up, and we'll move them aside for the moment, but we're just going to roll these up into boneless chicken rolls like this. And then we're going to go over to the stove where we're going to use these bones to make a bone broth that we're going to use for our drunken chicken. Now we're going to make the bone broth that's used in this recipe. You can actually make a big batch of this and use this in other recipes as well, which is what I'm going to do here. So the spices in this is a whole star anise, half a teaspoon of sea salt, and 2 bay leaves. And we're also going to put in 6 slices of fresh ginger and 2 tablespoons of thin soy sauce, which is different from your standard grocery store soy sauce. You can get it online or at any Asian grocery store. Some grocery stores may carry it also, but 2 tablespoons in there for that. It also goes by the name of thin soy sauce, light soy sauce, those are the same thing. So last thing is we're going to put our chicken bones in, and then we're going to bring this to a simmer, and we're going to let this cook for at least an hour. The bone broth is finished, and it should be a nice dark yellow color, as well as very fragrant from all of the aromatics that are in it, like the ginger and the star anise. So now what we're going to do is we're going to strain all of the solid bits out of this, and we can discard them at this point. And we're going to put the broth in the refrigerator for a couple of hours because we want this to be cold before we use it again in this recipe. The next thing we're going to do is lightly tenderize both pieces of chicken. So just with the back of your knife, you just want to slowly beat them down. You don't have to go super hard. We're not coming at this with like a meat tenderizer mallet or anything. It doesn't need to be that strong. But we just want to kind of flatten it out and tenderize, particularly the meatier parts here. Now with the meat pounded flat, we're just going to lightly salt them here. And just sort of massage that salt in so that it really gets in there. This is Shaoxing wine, which is a cooking wine that's used in a lot of authentic Chinese cuisine. So we've got our bowl here, and we're just going to put these chicken pieces in this bowl. And now we're going to put half a cup of Shaoxing wine, and we're just going to let them marinate in that for about 20 minutes. Now we're going to take our chicken pieces and we're going to roll them up on a piece of plastic wrap, and we're going to get a nice tight chicken roll here. While that's going on, go ahead and heat up your bamboo steamer over a pot or a wok or however you normally do your bamboo steaming. And once we get this rolled, we're then going to go ahead and get it in the plastic. And it's almost like rolling a beef Wellington if you've ever made that dish before. We just want to get it nice and tight, and that's going to help it shape up as this chicken steams. And it's also going to seal in the juices from that marinade and all of those wonderful flavors. And so you want it to, you're going to twist the edges and then tuck them under, and you want it to be a nice cylindrical log like this. Then we're going to put them in our steamer for about 20 minutes on medium high. We are done steaming the chicken. It looks like it came out perfectly. It looks like it's the right color. Now what we're going to do is remove this from the heat and let this chicken cool back down to room temperature before we move on to the next step. Now we're going to brine the cooked chicken rolls. One safety note here, definitely use a clean container because now we're using cooked chicken as opposed to using raw chicken before, so definitely don't reuse the same bowl that you were using before. Make sure you're using something clean. So we now have 1.5 cups of Shaoxing wine. This is 2 tablespoons of sugar, as well as 2.5 teaspoons of sea salt. This is a tablespoon of dried goji berries, which you can find on Amazon if you don't have them locally. I'll put a link in the description for these. Now we're going to go ahead and put the chicken rolls in to the brine. And the last thing we're going to do is now cover that with the stock we made earlier until the chicken is completely submerged in the liquid. And I'll probably go a little bit further beyond that, just to make sure I've got plenty of liquid for the final plating of the dish. Okay, that's it. And like I said, this stock is a really good aromatic chicken bone broth stock, so definitely use it for some other soup recipes and stuff that call for it. So at this point, we're actually just going to cover this chicken, and we're going to let this brine, almost like a pickle, for at least 24 hours. It lasts for 2 to 3 days. So if you want to make this a few days ahead of time, that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the refrigerator, and then I'll be back to show you guys the final plating of the dish. The drunken chicken has finished brining, and so there's only one thing left to do. And now we're going to cut it into about approximately 1-inch thick slices. Just want to show you guys what the chicken slices should look like if you're unfamiliar. It should be solid all the way through, almost look like a chicken sushi roll. But this is what it should be. It should be cooked, no pink or juices or anything in the middle. And now we're ready to go ahead and plate this up and have this for dinner. All right, we've got our chicken pieces arranged here in the bowl, and we're just going to go ahead and ladle the broth and goji berries right over the top. And they have obviously completely rehydrated over the course of the evening. All right, there we go. And that is Shanghai style drunken chicken. There's a lot of different variations of this recipe, regional variations throughout China. I will say this looks like, to an American palate, right? We're used to barbecue, we're used to rubbing spices on everything, or some, even Mexican, right? The other half of my heritage, we would expect to see a lot of color and pop on these. This is actually really flavorful. That Shaoxing wine and that star anise really packs a lot. And even though it looks like, it almost looks like unseasoned chicken to our eyes, this is one of those flavorful chicken dishes I've ever had. So I really, if you've never had it before, suggest that you try it out. I've got lots of other Chinese videos. Check out some of my videos from the walks of life. That's a great cookbook as well. This one is called My Shanghai, but if you enjoy my content in general, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.